Welcome back. There are a tiny band of brothers, men working with toddlers in early childhood education, haunted by an unfounded suspicion that as men, they might be abusers. But these blokes say that attitude is not only discriminatory against men, it's also bad for the kids. Ian Sinclair with the story.
My concern as a male is that, are we saying to children and to families that the only contact men can have with children is one of abuse?
They're a rare breed.
It does scare you up because you're working and you can feel people are watching you.
Men brave enough to work with preschoolers in a women's world.
It's delicious. It is a tough place for men to come into and for men to stay.
Russell Ballantine is an early childhood teacher, a job where there's 130 blokes and more than 13,000 women.
There is a degree of, I suppose, suspicion, a degree of interest, a degree of almost scepticism on why men would be involved in such a career.
It's unbelievable in 2006 to have less than 1% of men working in early childhood education.
Hiya.
This is a job Russell has always wanted to do. After 23 years in early childhood work, he now runs his own centre in Dunedin.
Sometimes Russell builds stuff for us. And he fixes pirate ships. Me and Russell were doing rock stars.
When you're around children, you don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. You know, you're so busy and it's so exciting and so vibrant.
Matthew, you rat bag.
He loves it. And what, he asks, could be more natural?
The really important thing for me is that children see male and female working together, discussing, coming to decision-making, and that's a great model for our children.
Yet, for some, what he's doing is highly unnatural.
Has anybody ever said to you, you just don't belong, you're a man?
I got sent a publication which basically said we don't need masculine models in early childhood. That's a quite clear message to me that, yes, we don't really want you there.
Men aren't exactly welcome in the world of early childhood education, and it all stems from the Peter Ellis case, which left a tainted suspicion that any man might be a child abuser.
Peter Hugh McGregor Ellis, the man at the centre of the biggest child abuse case in this country.
Alice, a childcare worker at Christchurch's Civic Creche, was convicted of abusing the children he was entrusted with.
It had a huge impact because it helped to confirm a belief that was being promoted within society that men may abuse young children, and that any man that enters early childhood work would probably be in it because he wants to abuse young children.
Education researcher Sarah Farquhar first studied the role of males in early childhood centres while lecturing at Massey University. She found the fallout from the Peter Ellis case was catastrophic.
The early 1990s were very hard for any man working in childcare. There were stories of, for example, one male childcare worker being beaten up in his own home by a stranger who'd found out that he was working with young children.
There's no doubt the Peter Ellis case had an adverse effect to the decision-making of some males going into this as a career, not only in early childhood but in teaching in general.
Yet, over a decade on, there's been little evidence that men are anything but an asset.
Oh, why is it so important that men are involved in early childcare?
If they're not involved, it means that children are spending an increasingly huge amount of time in institutions that are not reflective of the composition of society, that are woman-dominated, that are abnormal.
Okay, who else wants a turn? Okay, there.
On Auckland's North Shore, ex-truckie Adam Buckingham graduated with an early childhood education degree 2 years ago. Now he's teaching the Littleys how to use a drill.
Hold it up, Kristen. Hold it up.
And how to strip a lawnmower.
Screwdrivers, drills, kids pulling apart engines.
Yeah.
Not the sort of thing you normally see in preschool, is it?
No, it's not really, but, I mean, they love it. And, I mean, it's part of life, isn't it?
What are they learning here?
Well, they're learning to use their fine motor skills, their pencil grip, and they're learning how things work.
What do you think the children get from having a man in this centre?
Adding values to their life skills. They're learning that men can nurture too. It's real biggie.
Adam's organised a fish and chip night for the kids he works with and their dads.
Enjoy meeting your children's friends.
To these fathers, at least, the Ellis case is ancient history.
I arrived one morning to drop my kids off, and this guy greeted me, and I thought he was one of the dads. So I was quite surprised, but at the same time felt quite good about it.
Did you know that only 1% of teachers were male in early childhood education?
No, I'm staggered by that. I just think that's totally disproportionate.
Men are supposed to be involved through the whole life of a child. So I think it's great that Adam's involved in it. There should be more of it.
Yet, despite these reassurances, there's a sense this husband and father is still haunted by prejudice and he's already been on the receiving end.
When you're at training, I was feeding a baby with a bottle. The mother came and didn't like it. So I was moved from that centre to another one.
Here you are, a man who believes he does his job well, and obviously does. That must hurt, surely?
Oh, yes, but I think you've got to take it with a grain of salt and carry on.
Russell's married too, with 3 kids.
Probably the most vulnerable, the young guys from school don't have children. If you have children, you're okay, you're safe, okay? But if you're not, then maybe you're questionable.
If they want men, the Ministry of Education isn't showing it. Yes, on the Ministry's recruitment website, you'll see ethnic diversity promoted, but men don't really get a look in.
Māori, Pākehā, Pacifica, hello, where were the males? So quite clearly the message going out to anyone involved in education from Teach New Zealand was, this is not a career that's for you.
Contrast this with that male bastion, the military. Here, the boot is firmly on the other foot. Female images encourage women to boost the ranks.
Go to army.mil.nz to see if you've got what it takes.
It's called gender equity. So, in early childhood, where women dominate, why no promotion for men?
When I see the promotion material, I see that it's very important that we have caring and well-educated women. But that's all I see in the brochures and in the advertising material. I do not see men. Men are invisible. So what has happened is that men have quietly been forgotten about when it comes to recruitment.
Does it bother you that there are so few men?
Yes, it does worry me. The material at the moment is overwhelmingly dominated by women because that's who's in the sector. What we have to do is to represent this sector of the education area as something that's a good place for men to go, and that's what we're beginning to do.
Across the Tasman, it couldn't be more different.
You really have to be passionate about what you're doing.
For 2 years now, this Australian government campaign has targeted blokes directly, encouraging them into childcare. The New Zealand government says it has plans too.
We're producing material now that portrays men in this setting. The DVD we want to put out is to say, why don't you have a look at it and see whether this is a place for you as a male to carry out your teaching career.
When are these DVDs coming out?
Pretty much immediately, over the next month or so, we've got the plan for that to be out and released.
Well, that's not quite right. The Minister said that 6 weeks ago. Turns out the DVD won't be released till the end of the year. And yes, there'll be a few blokes, but the Ministry says this is not a male recruitment drive.
What is the problem here? Is it that men aren't being encouraged, or is it that they simply aren't interested?
I wouldn't say that men are not interested. They may have battles with their family, with their mum or their dad, who says, why don't you go and get a real job? But once they are in, and once they are training, the next battle then is surviving the course.
But did those courses cater for you as a man?
No, it didn't really at all. I was, good morning, ladies, in the lecture theatre. Oops, forgot there's a man.
Despite the Peter Ellis years, the sideways looks and a lack of male colleagues, Russell Ballantine stuck it out.
You've got a nice big bald head, eh? Haven't you, man? Eh? The fact that I've been able to give 23 years within the service has been unusual, I think, in terms of my ability to just still be here.
Not only still here, but booked out.
We have no vacancies in our centre for well over 2 years. There is a life, there is a vigour about this place, and that's why I think we're so successful, because of that.
The secret, his defiant blokiness. Sword fighting, for instance, definitely not PC.
To my on the sword, not in the head. You know the rules. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think, you know, again, it's teaching children confidence.
It's a beacon to parents who want a bit of masculinity around their kids.
Hey, here he comes, good boy.
I think I bring a different perspective. I think males do push the envelope a wee bit in some of the physical things we do with the children.
Well done, me man.
The greatest irony for me, isn't it, we talk about being a postmodern society where multiple perspectives is really important, yet in early childhood we only have a woman's perspective. You know, how can that be? And are our kids getting a fair deal from that? I don't think so.
Coming up next, imagine this: losing custody of the child you gave birth to because DNA says you couldn't be the mother.